As soon as Davante Adams was traded away for the Green Bay Packers, it seemed like every fantasy analyst was shouting the same exact thing. Go out and sell Allen Lazard before the Packers draft or bring in a free agent wide receiver. And although I do expect the Packers to go out and draft one or maybe even two wide receivers in this year's draft, I am not even thinking about selling Allen Lazard, considering he is getting flipped for a third round pick right now. And I don't think you should either. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make an argument for you to go out and acquire him because of his untapped ceiling that I think people aren't really taking notice of yet. I'm Dave Kluge with Football Guys, and I'm here to tell you why you should go out and get Allen Lazard in your dynasty leagues. If you haven't already, be sure to sign up for the YouTube page. That's youtube.com/footballguys. Not only do we have these short videos coming at you, but you can also check out all of our full-length shows like the Audible and the Launchpad that I host on Friday afternoons. Now, let's go ahead and dive right in. First of all, I'm going to address the negatives right off the bat with Allen Lazard because there are a lot of them, and I've got to give you a fair analysis here. So let's talk about it. This is why he's everybody's favorite sell high candidate. He's been in the league for 4 years, and he just had his first season with more than 500 yards. He's never seen more than 60 targets in a single season. 2020 was the highest target share he's ever commanded, and it was just 15.3%. Now, looking at the numbers, it's pretty compelling to say that Allen Lazard is not going to be able to step into the wide receiver one role here, and I get that. Now, there's a very, very strong narrative to pay attention to here. So, if you're not a narrative guy, if you're all about the numbers, we've got a lot of great videos and you can move on to the next one because this probably isn't for you. So, let's dive into this narrative just a little bit. Aaron Rodgers is undeniably one of, if not the best quarterback of all time. Based on his antics over the year, I think it's pretty safe to say that Aaron Rodgers is a unique individual and that those unique traits, they aren't just off the field and in the media. He's got a very, very strange track record of grooming and developing homegrown receivers that the Green Bay Packers either sign or draft. And we're going to get into that a little bit. But first, let's look at free agents, or I guess I should say the lack thereof of free agents. Since Aaron Rodgers took over in 2008 as the Packers starting quarterback, they have brought in exactly two guys who have played for a different team. We're looking at Juwan Winfrey. As a rookie, Juwan Winfrey suited up for 3 games for the Denver Broncos. He saw 14 total snaps, and then he was on Green Bay in year 2. The other guy that was brought in as a free agent wide receiver was Tavon Austin. Tavon Austin saw 5 targets in 2020 before ultimately moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. For whatever reason, whether it be the Packers front office making this decision or Aaron Rodgers making this decision, the team simply does not care about free agent wide receivers. It seemed like last year everyone was saying Juju Smith-Schuster and Curtis Samuel, these guys would be a great fit for the Packers offense. And we didn't really hear any sort of interest from the Packers. As a matter of fact, they went out and traded for Randall Cobb rather than signing one of these young gun free agents off the street, which really makes me think that Rodgers trusts or values trust above all else when it comes to his wide receivers. This offseason, every analyst was screaming that Allen Robinson, Juju Smith Schuster, Jamison Crowder, DJ Chark, these guys would be great fits for the Packers. And while I agree with them, again, we saw no interest coming from the Packers front office. Now, when you think of all of the preferred targets for Aaron Rodgers over the year, the first guys that probably come to your mind are Davante Adams, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and wouldn't you know it, all of those guys were drafted or signed by the Packers as rookies. And the craziest thing about these guys is not one of them was able to crack 1,000 yards within their first 4 seasons in the league. All of these guys got off to historically slow starts. I don't understand why, but that's just the way that Aaron Rodgers grooms his receivers. Now, let's look at the rookie yardage total receiving leaders for rookie wide receivers that have played with Aaron Rodgers. Leading at the top is Marquez Valdes-Scantling with 581 yards. Nothing too impressive for a rookie there. Typically, when we look at face planners as rookies, the arbitrary cutoff mark that a lot of people use is 525 yards. You want to see at least 525 yards from a rookie wide receiver. Well, by that definition, Davante Adams, Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson, they were all face planners, and you should have cut them after year 1. Davante Adams had 446 yards. Randall Cobb had 375 yards, and Jordy Nelson had just 366 yards. Those are the top 4 rookies in Aaron Rodgers' career. All of those guys eventually got to the point where they were consistently cranking out wide receiver 1 fantasy football seasons. I don't know why Rodgers slowly builds up trust and develops these guys, but we have seen this time and time again. Now, granted, Aaron Rodgers has never had a first round rookie before, so things might be a little bit different. But Davante Adams, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb were all taken in the second round. So I don't know if it's that big of a difference if they go out and get somebody in the first this year. If there's one thing we know about Aaron Rodgers, it is that he places a lot of importance on trust. And we have seen it in the past. Marquez Valdes-Scantling drops a pass, and then Aaron Rodgers won't look his way for the rest of the game. The rumors 2 years ago about him wanting out of Green Bay were because the team traded away Jake Kumaro. Yes, Jake Kumaro. I'm talking about 32 targets over 2 seasons, never cracked 70 yards in a single game. Jake Kumaro, his departure was enough for Aaron Rodgers to want to leave Green Bay. Okay, great, Dave. You're talking about all this stuff, but what does this mean for Allen Lazard? Well, let's take a look at the wide receiver one for Aaron Rodgers over the year. When Aaron Rodgers took over in 2008, Greg Jennings was already solidified and established as that team's wide receiver one from the Brett Favre days. And from 2008 to 2010, Jennings averaged 8 targets and 76.5 yards per game with Aaron Rodgers. Then he started the 2012 season with an injury, and he and Jordy Nelson kind of alternated wide receiver 1 weeks over that 2012 season. But then when injuries started to pile up on Jennings, Jordy Nelson stepped in as the team's wide receiver one. And from 2013 to 2016, Jordy Nelson averaged 9 targets and 85.2 yards per game, very similar to the output that we saw from Jennings over the previous seasons. And just like Jennings before him, injuries started to pile up, and Nelson and Davante Adams each took on a share of the wide receiver one duties in 2017. In 2018, Jordy Nelson left for, funny enough, well, at the time, the Oakland Raiders, but Jordy Nelson went to the Raiders, and that opened up the floodgates for Davante Adams to be the Davante Adams that we know today. From 2018 to 2021, Davante Adams averaged 7.8 targets and 83.2 yards per game. Now, like I said, it took Jordy Nelson 4 years to finally crack 1,000 yards. It took Davante Adams 5 years to hit that mark. And now in steps Allen Lazard. And while this is technically his 5th year in the league, he only played 1 game as a rookie. So I'm kind of looking at this as year 4 for him. And Allen Lazard, just like his predecessors before him, got off to a pretty slow start in his career. Over the last 3 years, he averaged right around 500 yards per season. And over the last 2 years, we have only seen one instance where Allen Lazard was able to step up without Davante Adams while Marquez Valdes-Scantling was still on the field. In that game, they played against the New York Saints. This was in 2020. And Allen Lazard drew coverage from Pro Bowl cornerback Marshawn Lattimore. And these numbers alone should help you put to rest any concerns that he cannot produce against the top quarterback. In that game without Davante Adams, Allen Lazard went for 8 targets, 6 receptions, 146 yards, and a touchdown. Marquez Valdes-Scantling had 4 targets, 1 reception, 5 yards, and failed to find the end zone. Like I said, Allen Lazard did this while drawing coverage from Marshawn Lattimore, so there should be no concerns or issues that he can do it against some of the best in the league with Adams out of the picture. Now, when looking at the advanced metrics for Allen Lazard, there's even more to get excited about. He has been an efficiency monster over the last couple of seasons. Last year, he ranked 6th overall in fantasy points per target, despite only scoring 5 touchdowns. And Rodgers' quarterback rating when targeting Allen Lazard was 7th best in the league among all receivers. When you look at his combined points per target, average depth of target, and fantasy points per route run over the last 2 seasons, he falls into an elite group at those thresholds. It is just Allen Lazard, Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett, and Adam Thielen. One metric that I really like when you're talking about efficiency is yards after the catch, and Allen Lazard has had double what any of those guys have had over the last couple of seasons, painting the picture for a monstrous ceiling. Now that I've talked about his efficiency over the last couple of years, let's talk a little bit about this guy's athletic profile. He is 6'3". His size adjusted speed score puts him at nearly the 90th percentile, and he has a monstrous catch radius, and he's still just 26 years old. To sum it up, he's big, he's tall, he's fast. You got to like that when you see a wide receiver, right? And when looking at his profile comps, when taking into consideration his height, weight, speed, 40 time, agility score, and burst score, there are exactly 4 historical comps for Allen Lazard. Miles Boykin and Jonathan Baldwin each face planted in their respective careers. They never logged more than 325 yards in a single season. The other 2 guys that hit those thresholds for profile comps, Vincent Jackson and Julio Jones. That should help paint the picture for how high the ceiling is for Allen Lazard right now. Now, back to the possible first-round picks. I'm not overly concerned if the Packers select a rookie in round 1 because of the historical usage that Aaron Rodgers has had with these guys. Let's put on our imagination caps for a second and imagine the worst-case scenarios for Allen Lazard. Let's say the Packers select 2 rookies in the first round, and Aaron Rodgers throws more targets their way than he has ever thrown to rookies in his entire career. Both of them, two rookies, both seeing historical highs in targets from Aaron Rodgers. Let's imagine that Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, and Robert Tonyan all set career highs in targets. Let's imagine that Randall Cobb's usage goes up from last year. Let's imagine that the team starts to lean a little bit more on the run, and Aaron Rodgers' total passes attempt dropped to 500 this year. All of those things would work against Allen Lazard, and he still has a pathway to 100 targets this season after never seeing more than 60 in a single year. So what we're looking at here is a guy with an extremely unique profile when it comes to his size and speed, who has been wildly efficient over the last 2 years. He has the trust of one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history. Now, is it possible that he just simply maintains his role as the wide receiver too and puts up another 500-yard season with a handful of touchdowns? Of course. And that's why he's getting drafted as late as he did, or as late as he is. And that's why he's being valued the way that he is in dynasty markets. But I think that people here are just completely ignoring the ceiling for Allen Lazard. If this guy gets 120 targets and sees a drop in efficiency, he can still finish as a high-end wide receiver one this year. So I want to go out and sell him now. I think that we're looking at the next few seasons where Allen Lazard could easily step into that coveted wide receiver one role with Aaron Rodgers and put up some fantastic numbers. Thank you for checking this out. Feel free to drop a reply down at the bottom and let me know what you're thinking about Allen Lazard. Find me on Twitter at Dave Kluge. That's Dave Kluge. And be sure to subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/footballguys. Thanks for checking this out, and I will see you next week.